You won't believe what happened when my husband convinced me to do something with our horse and camera, no less. It started out like any normal day at the barn, but before I knew it, my husband had this crazy idea that would change everything. As a couple, we've always shared a love for animals, especially horses. We've spent countless hours riding together, training our horse, and even just hanging out in the barn. But this was something completely different, something I never thought would actually happen. It began with a casual conversation, like any other. My husband, being the adventurous and sometimes wild thinker that he is, suggested we try something new to showcase how bonded we are with our horse. At first, it seemed harmless enough. We've done little challenges and fun videos in the past, so why not try something a little out of the ordinary? I wasn't expecting what would come next. He wanted to record something that would push boundaries, something that would surprise our audience, and honestly maybe even surprise me. He had this whole idea about how it would be a great way to show trust between us and the horse. But when he told me exactly what he wanted me to do, I was caught off guard. I hesitated, not because I didn't trust him or the horse, but because, well, I didn't know if I was ready to put it out there. But then the more he talked about it, the more curious I got. Was I really going to go through with it? Should I say yes to something that could turn out way crazier than I ever expected? As we set up the camera, I could feel the tension building. My heart was racing, and I had no idea what was about to unfold. The thought of doing something completely out of my comfort zone on camera made me second-guess myself. But he had this way of convincing me that it would be fine, that it would be fun, and that it was all for a good cause. It wasn't until I actually saw the camera rolling that it hit me this was real. Whatever we were about to do, I was going to be part of it, and there was no turning back now. But here's the thing. As the camera started rolling, everything felt different. The atmosphere changed. The horse, sensing the shift in energy, seemed to pick up on my nerves. My husband's instructions became more intense. What I thought would be a simple, fun moment quickly spiraled into something that left me questioning if I had made the right choice. Did I really want to do this? What was going to happen next? The rest of the story is something you'll have to see for yourself. Because just as things were about to take an unexpected turn, I wasn't sure what the outcome would be. Stay tuned, because this is just the beginning of what could be one of the most surprising moments of my life, and one I'll never forget. The horse we have, Bella, is no ordinary animal. She's a beautiful, strong mare, and I've spent years building a deep connection with her. I remember the first time I got on her. I was terrified. But over time, she became more than just a riding companion. She became a trusted friend, someone who could sense my every mood. That bond we have is something my husband always admired. He's always said that horses can teach you things about yourself you never knew existed. And I suppose that's true, but I had no idea what he was about to ask of me was going to test me in ways I didn't see coming. You see, my husband loves the idea of doing things outside the box. He's always been the creative one in our relationship, while I tend to be a little more cautious. So when he suggested this new idea for a video, part of me thought it would be just like any other quirky challenge we've done together, something funny, something that would get a laugh. But as he kept talking, I could sense there was more to it than that. He didn't just want a simple trick or a basic training routine on camera. No, he wanted something that would capture the raw, real connection between me and Bella. He started talking about trust exercises, but his version of trust wasn't the kind you'd expect. It was different. His eyes sparkled as he explained the concept, his excitement palpable, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. He kept saying things like, "You trust Bella, right? You've been through so much together. This will be the perfect way to show that." It sounded reasonable at first, but there was a catch. There always is with him. The idea was to do something physically challenging with Bella, something that required an unusual level of coordination and trust, all while being filmed. I'd done plenty of riding stunts, tricks, and groundwork with her before, but this was something new, something risky. I kept trying to tell myself that I could handle it. Bella was trained, I was experienced. And most importantly, my husband knew I'd always push my limits when it came to creating content we both felt passionate about. But as I stood there, staring at the camera and adjusting my helmet, doubt began creeping in. What if this didn't go as planned? What if Bella didn't respond the way we hoped? I could see my husband's excitement building, and I didn't want to let him down. but as the tension in the air grew thicker, I realized I was getting more nervous than I should have been. Bella, who had been so calm just a minute ago, began to shift her weight, pawing at the ground, like she could sense my unease. It was like she knew something was off. I knew my own fear could affect her, but I was trying to stay focused. Still, something deep inside told me this wasn't going to be as easy as he made it sound. Just as I was about to take the first step forward, my husband gave me one last look. His eyes were filled with excitement, but there was something else there, something I couldn't quite place. Was this just another crazy idea to him, or was there more riding on this moment than he was letting on? It was too late to back out now. I had to trust him. I had to trust Bella. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was walking into something much bigger than I had imagined. Something that could change everything. And just when I thought I had made up my mind, that's when it happened. Bella took a step back, suddenly startled. My heart skipped a beat. The camera was still rolling, but my focus was entirely on the horse. What had she seen? What was about to happen next? As Bella took a hesitant step back, my heart raced even faster. The energy shifted so suddenly that I could feel it in my gut. Horses are sensitive creatures. They pick up on everything, from your body language to your emotions. Bella had always been calm, but this was different. She wasn't scared, no, she was alert, almost like she was trying to warn me. I could hear my husband behind the camera, whispering encouraging words, urging me to keep going. But all I could think was, why? Why is she acting like this? Asterisk. I tried to take a deep breath, but it only made my anxiety worse. The camera was rolling, and I knew we were filming something important, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we were crossing some invisible line. I'd been in this barn with Bella so many times before, and yet, right then, I felt like I didn't really know her at all. My mind started to race. What if she's not ready for this? What if I'm not ready? Asterisk. My husband kept pushing me to move forward, repeating how important this was for the video. He wanted me to take the lead and prove the connection we had, to show how we could communicate without words. But as much as I wanted to trust him and trust Bella, I could feel my grip on the reins loosening. It was like I was no longer in control, even though I was holding on to everything tightly. From his perspective, this was just another opportunity to make a great video. He was the creative one, always coming up with big ideas. But I couldn't help but wonder, was he pushing me too far? Or was this really just another of his wild plans to get the perfect shot? And then, without warning, Bella bolted. My heart nearly stopped. I hadn't even had time to react before she started running in circles, her hooves pounding against the dirt. My husband's voice on the camera faded into the background, and all I could hear was the sound of Bella's frantic movement. I had no idea what triggered it, but my gut told me this wasn't just a simple case of her being spooked. Something else was going on, something I couldn't understand yet. And as I stood there frozen, I realized this wasn't just a challenge. This was real, and it was only getting more dangerous by the second. Bella's wild gallop made my blood run cold. My hands trembled as I tried to stay steady on my feet, trying to think clearly in the chaos. I could hear her hooves pounding the ground in rapid succession, and my heart raced with each step she took. This wasn't just a playful spurt of energy. Something was off. She wasn't just running, she was panicking. I could see it in the way her eyes were wide, the way her body moved in a frenzied rhythm I'd never seen before. I looked toward my husband, who was still behind the camera, urging me to get her under control. "You've got this. Just focus," he called out, but his voice didn't reach me the way it usually did. It felt distant, muffled, almost like I was in a dream. The tension in the air was suffocating, and every second that passed felt like an eternity. I had to do something. But what? Bella's fear was spreading, and I was starting to lose control of the situation. She was moving so fast now, circling the pen in erratic patterns, and I could see her muscles trembling. I knew I couldn't let her keep running like this. If I didn't act soon, things could escalate quickly. The more she ran, the more I felt like I was losing that bond we had worked so hard to build. My stomach twisted with anxiety, but I also couldn't shake this nagging feeling that something was wrong. Bella wasn't scared of just the camera. No, there was something else at play here. Had we pushed her too far? Had I? I started to move closer to her, slowly, cautiously, trying to find a way to calm her down. But the closer I got, the more intense her panic seemed. I could see the sweat glistening on her coat, her breath coming in heavy bursts. My heart was racing now, my mind spinning with every possible outcome. What if I couldn't reach her in time? What if I couldn't calm her down? The stakes were higher than I ever imagined. And just when I thought I might be able to step in and stop her, something even more unexpected happened. Just as I was about to step forward and reach for Bella, something in the air shifted. A sudden sharp noise, like a crack, echoed through the barn. Bella's ears shot up, and in an instant, her frantic pacing stopped. She froze mid-gallop, her body tense and rigid. For a split second, the entire world seemed to pause. My heart skipped a beat, and I barely had time to process what had just happened before I noticed something even more alarming. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the barn door swing open. It was my husband, his face pale and his expression, well, it wasn't the excitement I'd seen just moments before. His eyes were wide with panic as he dropped the camera to the ground, stumbling toward the side of the barn. "No, no, no," he muttered under his breath, his voice shaky. My pulse quickened. What was going on? Asterisk. I turned back to Bella, who was still frozen in place, her eyes locked on something in the distance. I followed her gaze and froze myself. A shadow moved in the corner of the barn, dark, heavy, and looming. My first thought was that maybe it was another animal, but then I saw it clearly. It wasn't a wild animal, it was a person. A man. Someone I didn't recognize, standing just outside the barn, his face obscured by the brim of his hat. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, watching. And in that moment, something clicked in my mind. This wasn't just an ordinary day at the barn anymore. This wasn't just about us making a video with Bella. There was a reason Bella was reacting this way. There was something she sensed, something more than just fear. My husband was already making his way to the barn door, his hands shaking as he grabbed at the latch. "Stay here," he whispered to me, but I could see the unease in his face. He wasn't acting like himself. He was scared. The man outside didn't move a muscle. He was like a shadow, unblinking, unfazed by anything going on around him. As I stood there, my mind racing, I realized this had nothing to do with our video anymore. Bella's freakout, my husband's strange behavior, and this mysterious figure, it was all connected. But how? And why now? My stomach twisted with anxiety, the knot in my chest growing tighter with each passing second. Was this a coincidence? Or had something darker been happening right under our noses this entire time? And what was this stranger really after? My husband stepped toward the door, but I couldn't bring myself to move. I was rooted to the spot, my mind racing with 1,000 thoughts. What did this stranger want? Why was Bella so terrified? I could feel the tension in the air like a physical presence, thick and suffocating. I glanced over at Bella, who was still frozen, staring intently at the man outside. She wasn't just scared, she was alert, like she was waiting for something to happen. Before I could react, my husband swung the barn door open, stepping out into the light. The man didn't flinch, didn't move a muscle. He just stood there, waiting. I could barely hear the soft murmur of their conversation, but it was enough to catch a few words, something about the deal and the plan. Suddenly, everything clicked. My husband's odd behavior, the way he'd pushed me into that risky video idea, the way Bella had been acting, it wasn't just coincidence. This man wasn't a stranger at all. He was connected to my husband in some way I couldn't yet understand. But the truth was beginning to dawn on me. He wasn't just some random person on the property, he was part of something much bigger. And I had been pulled into it, without even knowing. I stood there, staring at them as the realization hit me like a wave. My husband had been hiding something from me, something that was about to change everything. Bella's reaction wasn't just about the video, or the camera, it was about the danger that was standing just outside our barn. I had been so caught up in the excitement, in the idea of making something great for our channel, that I hadn't seen the bigger picture. But now I knew, this was real. I took a tentative step forward, my voice shaking as I called out to my husband. "What's going on? Who is he? What have you been hiding from me?" My husband looked over his shoulder, his face pale and conflicted. "I didn't want you to get involved in this," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But it's too late now." At that moment, Bella started to move again. Slowly, cautiously, she took a few steps toward the stranger, her body no longer tense, but almost as if she were protecting him. My heart slammed in my chest as everything came crashing together. This wasn't just about a video or a wild idea for views. This was something far more dangerous, and I had been unknowingly caught in the middle of it. Before I could ask another question, the man finally spoke, his voice low and chilling. "You're not just filming for fun, are you?" he said, his eyes locking onto mine. "This is only the beginning. You've been part of something much bigger than you realize." And just like that, everything I thought I understood was shattered. I wasn't sure who to trust anymore, not even my own husband. As the man's words echoed in the tense silence, my mind went into overdrive. I looked at my husband, who seemed like he wanted to say something, but the words didn't come. It was as if the entire world had shifted, and I was no longer sure where I stood in it. Bella, who had once been a symbol of calm and trust, now felt like a link to something I couldn't even begin to comprehend. Why had she reacted so differently to this stranger? What was my husband involved in, and why had he kept me in the dark? "I never wanted you to find out like this," my husband said finally, his voice strained. "I thought I could keep you safe from it, but now it's too late." The man outside the barn gave a cold, almost pitying look, like he knew something I didn't. He stepped closer, but Bella, sensing the change in atmosphere, took a protective step forward, positioning herself between us. My heart pounded as I realized how much she had been guarding me all along. "Your husband got in deeper than he planned," the man continued, his tone sharp. "He thought he could control the situation, but you're already part of it, whether you like it or not." I looked at my husband in disbelief. "What do you mean, part of it? What is this? What have you been doing?" He sighed heavily, running a hand through his hair. "It's a long story, but the short version is, we've been filming more than just horse videos. Some of our content was never just for the audience. It was meant for them, asterisk." His voice trailed off, and I could feel my stomach drop. I felt betrayed, hurt, and confused all at once. He had used our love for animals, our genuine connection with Bella, as a cover for something far more dangerous. My mind raced with questions. What had I been unknowingly a part of? And more importantly, could I even trust my husband anymore? The man outside gave a short laugh, sensing the shift in the air. "You really think he's the only one involved?" He sneered. "There's a whole network, and now you're in the middle of it. Welcome to the real world, sweetheart." I stood there, my head spinning, trying to process everything. Just when I thought it couldn't get worse, the ground beneath me felt like it was crumbling. Bella, sensing my uncertainty, nudged my shoulder, as if telling me to trust her. And in that moment, despite everything, I realized something. The bond we shared, whether with Bella, my husband, or anyone else, was stronger than any secret or conspiracy. I wasn't going to let fear control me. "I don't know what you're involved in," I said, my voice steady but firm. "But I'm done. I'm not part of this world you've created." I turned to Bella, who stood with me, calm and grounded. She was my partner, not just in the barn, but in life. Together, we'd leave this behind and start over. And as I walked out of that barn, my husband's voice barely audible behind me, I knew this was only the beginning of a new chapter. Whatever came next, I would face it with Bella by my side and the strength to protect the life I'd always wanted. As for your channel, you're definitely on the right track with creating emotional, shocking, and relatable stories. It's important to create a narrative that keeps the audience on the edge of their seat while also making them connect emotionally with the characters. If you want ideas for video titles that could attract the same kind of attention as your competitor, here are a few that follow a similar pattern. 1. My husband forced me to do this with our horse on camera. I never expected this to happen. 2. I made a secret deal with my dog every night, and it changed everything. 3. My mom convinced me to try this with our dog on camera. I regret it. 4. My uncle convinced me to do this with our donkey on camera, but I didn't see this coming. The key to these titles is to keep them provocative and emotionally charged while maintaining an air of mystery. Let me know if you need more suggestions, or if you'd like help refining your content ideas.